10,000 years ago, I made a promise that I would read through all of Happy Appy and give my thoughts on the entire story. And I know longtime viewers might be asking, Davis, why are you so dressed up for this episode? It's because we're going to have a funeral today. Because today is the day that I put Happy Appy in the ground where he belongs. I'm going to finish my reading and analysis of Happy Appy today, and by the end of it, either he will be dead, or I will be dead. If you've watched my previous videos on this story, you know that this story has taken everything from me. I've had to move to escape the torment of Apple. I cannot rest because he never rests. I've trapped myself in a fruity, nightmarish prison of my own making, and I must face the consequences of my own actions. My most recent episode ended off about a third of the way through the narrator's description of all the new episodes of Happy Appy he'd found. I would give you more context than that, but it wouldn't really help. Just remember that the towers did fall, and that Happy Appy was probably behind it. Remember to subscribe to the channel to support my own personal war effort against Happy Appy. We need an army of about 200,000 strong in order to fend him off for the time being. But now, without any further ado, let's finish my reading and analysis of Happy Appy. Wish me luck. Welcome to the second part of the Happy Appy episode watching posts. I'm not ready for this. In Rows of Blood and Bones, we see Happy Appy painting a picture with red paint. Since this is Happy Appy, we all understand inherently that that is definitely not just red paint. We all know what it is. It's black cherry flavored Kool-Aid. The picture is of a rose in a playground. It was innocent enough until we see Happy Appy run out of red paint. He says, "Damn it, oh whoops, hey kids, let's go find some red paint and white sticks." Very clearly, the author wants to have some bones in this story, but having the phrase white sticks is so awkward. Like, why do you need white sticks to paint? We see Happy go out of his van and lure in two kids, and we see him mutilate them off screen. Hey, a Garrison, you can't see something if it happens off screen. That's not how seeing things works. It cuts to Happy painting the same picture, but now we see him with more red paint and white sticks as the stalk of the rose. After a minute, he finishes the painting. He shows the end result and says, "My masterpiece is complete. I call it the Rose of Blood and Bones. Hey kids, you too can make a painting using body parts and blood. If you make one, send it in to me and I will give you a prize." The video ends before the address was shown. Kind of a lame move for Happy Appy to tell us we can get a prize by sending in our blood and bones to him and then not even show us the address we're supposed to send them to. My guess is it's probably something like 911 911 Avenue. In Can of Kill, we see Happy cleaning out some large tin cans and working on mechanics in his van. I do love the through line of Happy Appy being a very good mechanic. That has been a consistent character trait he's had since the beginning of this story. You could knock this story for a couple of things, whether that be the plot, or the pacing, or the characters, or the prose, or the writing in general, or how it doesn't make any sense. But you can't say that Happy Appy hasn't been a consistently garbage character. After a few minutes, Happy notices the camera and says, "Hey kids, I'm working on my can contraption," and goes back to working on the can. It cuts to a tin can in the middle of the playground that has the note "Open Me" on it. Happy comes from the left and says, "Whenever someone opens the can of kill, a spray bottle pops out and sprays the kid with poison. This is my best invention ever, and it should get me a Nobel Prize. Well, mostly for peace." I always love when a story has what could be a shocking moment, but instead the evil character just looks directly at the camera and tells us all what's happening, following the old tell, don't show rule from the Netflix School of Writing. While he is talking his mouth off, we see a kid named Quincy open the can, get hit with some sort of poisonous gas, and get knocked out. See, that would have been a lot more effective if we hadn't been told that's exactly what was going to happen before it happened. Happy notices Quincy's body and says, "Hey, it works. You too can make a can of kill. All you need to do is send $5 to this address and you can wipe out anyone that hates you." And an address was listed. Again, that's 911 911 Avenue. Before the credits played, Happy drags Quincy's body into the van. I played Jar of Hate. Is this jar of hate potentially full of the same liquid hate that was pumped into Jane the Killer's body? I can't wait to find out. Somebody does really have to make an Avengers Infinity War style crossover of all the garbage creepypastas I've ever read. Like, you'd have Happy Appy and Jane the Killer, and then like Jeff the Killer's in there too. Then there's the guy that has the cool glowing sword and his magic 8-ball. It's a pretty cool character design. We also can't forget the Beast version of the Chuck E. Cheese mascot. The whole thing could take place in this joke of a correctional facility. Happy is sitting in his van when he says, "Hello kids, do you want to see my jar of hate?" No. A kid walks up to him and says, "Happy, hate is a strong word." In response, Happy says, "Shoo, Jacob," and pushes him away. Happy proceeds to write Jacob's name on a blank scrap of paper and places it into a jar of names. Happy says, "My jar of hate has the names of people I will kill. Let's see who's going to be the lucky one." Me, please, could you pick me? I really don't want to finish reading the story. He empties the jar and picks out 3 names: Happy says, "The people I will kill are Jacob, Miranda, and Danny." He sneaks behind Jacob with the cleaver from Big Help, jumps behind him, and the credits roll, while you can hear Jacob being killed in the background and Forenzik screaming, "Stand still!" I'm glad we're seeing Forenzik again. I think where we left off, the narrator killed a Forenzik, but there was another Forenzik, so there's two of them walking around out there. I guess one of them's dead, but there's another Forenzik out there we got to worry about now. Again, the sheer amount of plot lines that have been brought up and dropped throughout this story is borderline impressive. I played Happy's Rising. It starts with Happy healing a kid using a bandage, but he says, "Hey kids, want to come have some fun with me and Benny?" Everyone, including Benny, comes running into Happy Appy's van. However, to trick Happy Appy, Benny leaves quickly and silently. It shows Happy with a hand grenade and he says, "Want to see a cool trick?" Of course, the children shout yes. I don't know where in the chronology of this story this episode takes place, but these kids should have learned better by now. Happy Appy's going to kill you. He kills every kid he comes across. Happy throws a smoke bomb, drops the grenade, and gets out of the van. We see a child scream as the van explodes into 1,000 pieces. The scene is very realistic, with body parts everywhere. Wow, with that description, it's like I'm really there. Happy polishes a toe, puts it in a jar, and puts the jar in a mysterious brown bag, which has been in the background since the Blackberry episode for whatever reason. I like the idea this is trying to have like a running thing that it's setting up, but it just, forgot to do all of that. So now it's just like, remember the bag? It's been there the entire time. Sorry I forgot to tell you about that. Benny runs over to Danny, who is playing with a girl. Benny says, "Happy tried to kill me," and Danny says, "Well, at least you're safe with me here," and the episode ends. I played Happy Kills Benny. That's unironically a good joke from this story. It starts out with Benny playing at the playground, but he notices Happy in his new van, which was all black this time around. Happy must have some money because getting a black Ford Windstar from the dealership is a little bit of an upcharge. He says to his parents that he wants to go home because someone is staring at him funny. His parents look at the area Happy was, but he is not there. They said, "No one's there though," and Benny calms down. Benny sees Happy again, and Benny runs towards his parents. He says that Happy is stalking him, and the parents see Happy, but he is helping a kid. The parents say that Happy's just helping a kid. Oh my. I know the writing has been bad all the way through, but the words Benny and Happy and helping a kid have been spoken like 87,000 times during this one paragraph. Later, Benny finds a $20 bill. He picks it up, but Happy stabs him. Happy drags the body into his van and it cuts to the credits, with a brutal murder being played. Miranda Lives starts playing. It starts out with a piano version of the song sung by 3 of the 5 original kindergartners. They were presumably in 1st or 2nd grade when the episode premiered. The intro showed clips from Happy and the Oranges, Happy Kills Benny, Camp Ah, and 2 other episodes I hadn't seen yet. Please don't describe these episodes to me. I really can't take it. Just let them be. We all know what happens. Happy kills some people. He drives his Ford Windstar around. Please just let it be. It begins with Miranda's body on the beach. We see another kid poke it with a stick, but Miranda mysteriously awakens, screaming loudly. She says, "Happy Appy is going to pay for what he has done," and runs towards the playground. We see Happy Appy working on another portrait of a rose, with several more nearby. Miranda throws open the van's sliding door and screams, "Happy Appy, I'm going to kill you right now." Alright, my new favorite character in this story is Miranda. And Happy says, "Fine, do it. Kill me. Just try. You'll end up feeling the wrath of Napoleon." The episode ends. Are we talking like the wrath of Napoleon Bonaparte or Napoleon Dynamite? Either way, she should probably be scared. Miranda dies began. Miranda gets a knife and stabs Happy's arm, pinning him to the wall. Happy screams in pain and Miranda says, "I finally have you in my grasp. Now I will do what I've wanted for so long." Happy smugly says, "What's that?" Miranda says, "Kill you!" Suddenly, a shadowy figure looms over Miranda. It was none other than guess who? Who do you guys think it is? Lots of options here. It could be a Aphex Twin or the Rue Bears. Now, of course, it's Forenzik at Forenzik, come back to kill somebody. He coldly says, "The only murder that will happen today is yours." Sorry, I forgot that Forenzik has like a canonically like old-timey mobster voice, so I'll read you that line. "The only murder that will happen today is yours." Yes, I understand that was 10,000 times worse than the original line reading. Miranda screams and tries to stab Forenzik, but he slams her down on the table Happy uses to cut up kids. At this point, it's quite clear that whoever worked on this episode used an obvious stunt double for Miranda, as her skin and hair were darker. I bring this up in literally every single one of these videos about this, but is Happy Appy actually killing the kids? Because it seems like they're using stunt doubles, which makes it seem like this is all just an act. But then, like, why would that ever be scary? I know this story's not supposed to be scary. It's like all a big giant joke, but like, could you at the very least be killing actual children? That's a good quote to put on my tombstone there. Could you at the very least be killing actual children? Forenzik brings out the scimitar knife and begins cutting her open. She screams in horror, and as soon as she screams, he's irritated. To stop her screaming, Forenzik grabs a random piece of wood on the floor and shoves it in her mouth, silencing her. Forenzik opens her up and starts cutting organs out, eating parts of them in the progress. Probably meant in the process there, but at least something kind of horrifying has happened, even though we know it's being done by a stunt double. By this point, Jim turned the TV off and decided to take a break. I forgot that Jim Forrester was a part of this story at all. He doesn't have any character traits, he's just watching Happy the same as every other character in this story. We really had to. A few hours later, he went back to the video, and we were greeted by more sickening scenes, which I will describe briefly. Well, if we know one thing, it's that brevity is this author's strong suit. To put it in a nutshell, there's cannibalism, necrophilia, limb dismemberment, and skinning. Yeah. After that, Forenzik turns to the camera smiling, holding a chunk of Miranda's brain. The true tragedy of this story is that the one part of the story that sounds like it might be kind of interesting in like a really morbid, horrifying way is just completely glossed over. Also, the story still is not wrapped around to how Happy predicted 9/11. We haven't even gotten a hint as to why that's even possible. When I first started reading this, and I didn't know it was just going to be straight garbage all the way through, I thought that would like factor into the story, like that would be the big mystery here. No, there is no mystery. It's just describing these stupid episodes to us. The episode ends. That's it. Jim and I can't do any more episodes. From here, there is going to get more sickening. I can't do it, and yet I feel some strange wish to watch the rest. Alright, we'll watch the rest tomorrow. Yeah, it really sounds like you were super torn up about that. It took you all of like half a second to decide to just watch the rest of the episodes. But after that, I'm destroying the DVD. November 4th, 2011. Welcome to the last post of the Happy Season 2 series. I started Napoleon, A Bigger Help, which is just great. The swing of this man's emotions regarding Happy needs to be studied in a lab. The last thing we saw yesterday was a snuff film, and the first thing I see today is possibly another. Okay, I take that last comment back. It was sarcasm, but you can't forgive me for thinking this guy would be stoked to read about Happy because he's written like a Bible-length narrative about it already. Oh well. It starts out with Happy saying, "Hey kids, last week was fun, killing Miranda with my best pal. Hey, come over here." And Forenzik walks into view saying, "Yes, Happy?" Sorry, I messed up the voice again. "Yes, Happy?" Happy says, "You know, we've killed women, but we haven't done any children yet." Was Miranda not a child? I'm supposed to be the lore keeper of this series, and I have no idea what's going on. I guess maybe the stunt double was an adult, but again, are they really killing the stunt double? If so, why is there a stunt double there? Just kill the kid. Forenzik gasps like a girl and says, "Oh, you're right, Happy. Let's kill someone. I can't take it anymore." Sorry, I didn't see the end of the quotation mark there, so I can't take it anymore. It's supposed to be the narrator. I assume his voice sounds like that as well. They find a child skipping some pebbles at a lake. Happy's van comes into view, and the kid flings a pebble at it, leaving a mark on the driver's side window. Happy gets mad at the kid, so he shoves him into a burlap sack and goes into his van. Inside, Forenzik murders the kid while Happy sits in view. What happened was absolutely horrifying that I can't say what happened in detail. I'll just say that by the end, the kid only had half of his skin, his skeleton, and chunks of his organs left. Was it also the night when the skeletons came to life? You know, the bones are their money, and so are the worms. And, like the Miranda scene, you know why I didn't post what happened. And before you say that I should know Forenzik's identity by now, I should mention that during his snuff films, he wears a ski mask instead of his gas mask. In fact, it's the same ski mask Napoleon wears in the CSI-style Happy intro. Okay, if I were to make a guess here, I would say that Napoleon probably is Forenzik, but nothing in this story makes sense. That's probably not a good guess, but if I were to try to make any sense of this and do my own CSI-style investigation, I would say that Napoleon is Forenzik. Meaner played. It picks right off after Happy goes bonkers, where Happy is in his van polishing his cleaver and cleaning the body parts of the children. The corpse of the girl he sliced with a garrote wakes up, and both the girl and Happy scream. Happy injects the girl with some of the green fluids he used on the kid and Happy the doctor and proceeds to mutilate her off screen. It's so weird that like some of the murder is very explicit and happens on screen, but then so much of it happens off screen. Like, what is the point of writing it that particular way? Typically, if something's continually happening off screen, it's because you want to just like hint at the fact that something terrifying is happening, or like you're leading up to a big scene where you see some actual violence. But this is just mixing in showing us and then not showing us, you know, just like whenever the story feels like it. After Happy is done, he is heard chopping the girl's head off with a cleaver. Happy leaves his van with a knife and says, "That was fun. Hey, killing is a fun thing to do." You can do it at home if your mommy and daddy allow you to. If they don't, which will probably happen, do it anyways because I, Happy Appy, says so. And the credits roll. Hey, Happy Appy, why even make the point of asking your parents' permission to kill people if you know they're going to say no? In Happy Appy's Christmas, we see Happy Appy drive to the playground in his van, which is decked out in Christmas lights and decorations. After a minute of waiting, Happy, dressed in a Santa outfit, leaves the van through the side door and shouts, "Merry Christmas, children!" His voice grabs the attention of nearly every kid on the playground, and they rush over to him asking for presents. Happy panics for a moment, and then slowly gives every child a small present. I love the fact that Happy Appy panics. Like, what were you expecting when you rolled up to the park and got out of your van and were like, "Merry Christmas"? Of course the kids are going to want presents from you. You're literally dressed like Santa. You're always red. One of the kids opens his present, and it's a juice box. Eventually, every present gets opened, and they all turn out to be juice boxes. Given the nature of Happy Appy's body composition, I'm just praying that it wasn't apple juice. We see the children drink them, except for Danny, who is hiding behind the monkey bars. Can you even hide behind monkey bars? Isn't the whole thing that it's like a tall, bar-like surface? There's nothing to hide behind. All of a sudden, we see all the children collapse. When I first saw this, I thought he had done a Jim Jones and put poison in the juice boxes. Unbelievably morbid statement there, but if you guys are looking for an actual legitimate good book to read Raven by Tim Reederman and John Jacobs. It's like the best book on Jim Jones if you're interested. Happy says, "Looks like my knockout drink worked," and drags the kids into the van from Danny's point of view. We see Happy Appy drive off while Danny runs after him. Eventually, Happy shouts, "Merry Christmas," causing Danny to stomp on the ground and scream, "I hate you, Happy!" The episode suddenly ends after that. Yes, Danny, let that hatred of Happy Appy drive you. My own personal hatred of Happy Appy drives me. Not the character, but the story, of course. Happy's house played. We see a nice-looking house with Happy Appy standing in front of it. Happy says, "Hey kids, who wants to see my house?" and walks inside. We get a tour of Happy's house. For the first half, it seemed like a normal house. Suddenly, Happy says, "Now for the main highlight of the tour. Are you ready to see my basement?" He goes outside and opens the cellar door. We see a dark room. Happy flicks on a light switch and we see the basement, full of body parts. On the walls were dry splatters of blood and skin stretched to look like bear rugs. The creator of the series actually gave us a picture of what the scene is supposed to look like. Unfortunately, it seems like he left his thumb in the image, so you can see that he is holding up the Happy Appy popsicle stick puppet. On the various tables were jars of body parts. There was one table covered in a cloth with a humanoid figure under it. Happy says, "Hey kids, do you like my workshop?" and goes to the table. He says, "Well kids, here's my magnum opus under this cloth." He unravels the cloth, and what's under it is a statue of a human made of human parts. The classic ship of Theseus thought experiment. I knew that would show up in a story of this caliber. It's unfinished, to say the least. Happy has yet to add the organs and the rest of the skin. How far can you get in reconstructing a human if you haven't put the organs in yet? Shouldn't that be like maybe one of the first things you do if you're building it from the inside out? I guess you could build all the outside and then put them all in after that, but that should be the first thing you do, right? A weird fun fact about me is that when I was in college, I worked as a delivery boy for the campus that I worked on. I delivered like literally every single package that came to the campus. And I delivered a cadaver once, and it was a weird experience. Happy says, "Hey kids, you should make a statue like mine," and the credits roll. Jim mocked Happy Appy's ideas as he did when we watched Lighter. I wish we got more of Jim's like Mystery Science Theater 3000-esque commentary and quips throughout this story. But I understand that Jim is probably all out of ideas. It's very hard to make several hours of commentary about this story. I wouldn't know anything about that. Napoleon, the biggest help played. Great, another snuff film, I thought. And seeing the list of episodes, hopefully the last. In this episode, Happy is seen putting organs into his statue. He puts a stomach, heart, and ribs in, but finds out he has no intestines. Of course he has no intestines. He's an apple, for goodness sake. Happy screams for Forenzik. Forenzik comes over and Happy says, "Napoleon, could you please find me some intestines, preferably adult ones?" Forenzik nods and goes out. So it looks like I was correct. Forenzik is Napoleon. I'm a genius. I mean, obviously a genius wouldn't have been dumb enough to read the story in the first place, but I'm pretty pleased with my deduction abilities. We see Forenzik go to Danny's house, where he and his father are crying over the death of June. Danny notices Forenzik and screams. Danny's dad rushes over, and Danny runs away. Forenzik slashes the dad's throat and drags him out of the door. Forenzik says, "You're very lucky I haven't killed you yet, Danny," and takes Danny's dad to Happy's house. Forenzik cuts open Danny's dad's stomach and mutilates him to no end. Happy cheers Forenzik on while Forenzik throws Happy body parts like a bear throwing chunks of flesh to her cubs. Forenzik is Apple's mother confirmed. After probably one of the less brutal snuff scenes, when compared to Miranda and the kid, we see Happy cheerfully placing intestines in the statue, and the episode ends. Jim couldn't take this anymore. If we see another snuff film, I'm so going to destroy the disc. That's what you said last time, buddy, and you still haven't done it. You're still making us listen to you recount the vapid details of this stupid show. We played Danny's Love. We see Danny kissing the girl from a few episodes back, and Danny says, "I love you, Jenny." Happy notices Jenny from the bushes. He says, "Hey kids, who wants to see a relationship end?" Jenny goes near the road. She notices that a limo is there that looks like the one that Aphex rode, and Happy meets the Rue Bears. Excited for whatever reason, she knocks on the window. A man in shades who looks a lot like John Wilkinson rolls down the window. Okay, I'm pretty sure John Wilkinson is the crazy guy that killed all the kids at the summer camp. That is a storyline that's just been completely abandoned. I don't know if it's going to come back. I hope it does, because that was honestly maybe the most interesting part of the story. Actually, because it was the most interesting part of the story, you can almost guarantee it won't come back, because that would be too good. She says, "Hey mister, you have a nice car." He smiles and says, "Thanks." Suddenly, Happy opens the door and grabs Jenny. We see the limo drive away. Danny sees the limo drive away with Jenny. Danny screams and cries for the last 5 minutes of the episode. Finally, Happy Fest / Happy Rots in Hell were up. Okay, I've complained about this story endlessly, but I could get behind an episode where we see Happy rot in hell. I would like to see that. In Happy Fest, we see Happy discuss plans in the camera. He says, "Hey kids, I have an idea that will change the world. I will make everyone happy," and brings out a knife. I was really hoping that was going to be like Happy saying, "Hey kids, I have an idea that's going to change the world. I'm going to steal a plane and fly it into a building." I knew what he was going to do. He was going to carve smiles into people's mouths. He got out of his van and said, "Hey kids, who wants to smile even when they're sad?" And all the children, which there are around 5, come running into Happy's van. Happy locks the doors, does a death smile, holds up the knife, and we see the outside of the van, where children are screaming and Happy laughing. After that, Happy opens the van door and climbs out. In the background, you could see a kid's body whose mouth was stretched like a Kuchi Sakiana, but in a smile. Happy says, "If you make everyone smile, the entire world will be a better place," and the credits roll. Finally, Happy Rots in Hell was up. I couldn't believe it. It was the end. Well, minus the epilogue, and we couldn't feel any better. Well, I would feel better if there wasn't a freaking epilogue. I feel like I'm getting ripped off here. Also, typically epilogues are found in a story that has some sort of, story. You can't just have all this disjointed nonsense for 5 hours and throw an epilogue in there like it's supposed to have some sort of meaning to it. This is actually our favorite episode. Just guess why. In Happy Rots in Hell, Happy drives to an old house where Danny is hiding. We see Danny holding a knife while another girl is with him holding keys. Danny says, "I hope Happy doesn't come here, Abigail." Yeah, I got some bad news for you, Danny, just based on the way the story's been going so far. We see Happy knock down the door with brute force. Abby says, "I'm going to go downstairs and open the door to the basement." Danny says, "Okay, Abby, but if Happy hears or sees you, call for me." Abby walks downstairs, trying not to make noise, gets the keys, and tries to unlock the door. The jangling of the keys alerts Happy. He creepily says, "I hear you," before running over to try to kill Abby. She unlocks the door and gets in the room right before Happy could reach her. She locks the door and Happy shouts, "Don't think you can hide forever, Abby," before running. A revving of a chainsaw is heard, and Happy is seen trying to chainsaw the door down. Danny shouts, "Get me instead," and Happy says, "Oh goody, you're much more important than her." It cuts to a POV shot of Happy trying to slice Danny with the chainsaw. Danny runs into the stairwell room. Abby locks the door again, and the two run down the hall as Happy tries to cut the door down. The fact that the story doesn't have a moment where Happy breaks down the door and goes, "Here's Happy," is very, very disappointing. It's like an easy slam dunk. Abby finds out that there's a door to the basement, so she tries to unlock it when Happy breaks through the door. He runs toward them, but Abigail unlocks and opens the door and slams it in Happy's face. We see the basement, which is a bunch of pipes and a random chest. Danny opens the chest and finds a knife and a revolver with 6 bullets. Okay, there's no way that these bullets kill Happy. There was an episode where Happy got in a car crash, was lit on fire, died on the operating table, and then hopped out of some dude that he was wearing as a skin suit and killed a bunch of people. Thinking about it now, that was probably the peak of this story, and it was maybe like 10% of the way through it. Danny tells Abby to get out using some stairs to the side. She does, and Happy breaks through the door. He charges at Danny with the chainsaw, making Danny jump out of the way. Danny fires the revolver once, but misses hitting Happy. The chainsaw gets stuck in the wall, and Happy pulls it out, forcing him back and having him dodge 2 more bullets. Danny fires the rest of the bullets and one hits Happy. He screams and pushes Danny down. Happy grabs his chainsaw and shouts, "Now I will have my revenge." Danny rolls out just as Happy forces the chainsaw into the ground. He pulls it out and notices that Danny is going after the chest. He charges at him, but Danny grabs the knife and throws it at Happy. Happy dodges it, and the knife hits a gas pipe. Gas sprays everywhere, and Happy rushes to clog up the pipe with a cloth. What are your gas pipes made of that just like tossing a knife at them causes them to burst open? That's horrifying. Did the contractor install those classic silly putty pipes or something? He stops the leak, but the room is covered in gas. Danny finds a box of matches and lights one. He mocks Happy, causing him to turn around. Horrified, Happy tries to cut Danny in half, but Danny gets out of the way and drops the match on the gas. A thing of bleach fell on Happy's face, soaking his face in both gasoline and vodka. Wait, sorry, wrong story. I was thinking of something else. Happy begins to scream as the basement fills up with fire. Danny gets out of the basement in time, somehow not getting burned. Happy notices that there are some explosive chemicals to the side. He says, "Oh no, it looks like this is the end for ol'," before it cuts to the house, where it explodes and collapses due to the foundations being blown by the explosive chemicals. We see a camera pan to the destroyed basement where Happy's melted, crushed body lays. Abby is crying nearby, while Danny is trying to comfort her. Suddenly, Forenzik grabs both of them and coldly says, "You have killed my creation. Now I will do the same to you." Are we really not going to get to see Happy rot in hell? I thought we would go into hell with him, but instead he just gets burned up. That's not... He's already survived something like that before. I don't trust that he's actually dead. We do get more confirmation that Forenzik is, in fact, Happy's mother, so that's kind of cool, but I was expecting a lot more for Garrison and Jim Forrester's favorite episode. Finally, I played the epilogue. It starts out with someone playing Gloomy Sunday by Retso Ceres, while it shows clips from all the episodes in its intro, minus the snuff ones, albeit in black and white. It cuts to a man typing on a typewriter on his desk with the crushed Happy at his side. The paper the man is typing on seems to be about Happy. A subtitle appears that says, "Portrayed by an actor." A narrator talks over the scene. It looks like the evil rampage of Happy has come to a close. Although he had died, his unfortunate impact on the world lives on. The many people who died on that show did it so the sick man who directed the show could see his true vision. A snuff TV show. Where the director is, I have no idea. But I think everybody would like to see that he died in a gruesome way. Okay, so they actually were killing people in Happy. I guess Happy is just a real thing that exists. I mean, I should know that. He shows up outside my window every night, but it's just so weird. But the man turns his face to the camera. You'd think he had died, but although Happy is long dead, the director lives on, and somewhere in the world, he is making private home movies, which continue the horrible story of Happy. But you might be wondering one thing. Why did Happy go so bad? We might never know until the director comes out and reveals why he made Happy kill all those people. You know, maybe it was just Happy's parents that were terrible people. After all, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We see the director slowly fix Happy's puppet with clay model utensils. Somewhere in the world, the director is slowly rebuilding Happy's clay model, damaged in the series finale of Happy. And if the director rebuilds Happy's clay model, who knows who might be killed next? It could be a celebrity's child. It could be the president's child. It could be any child. We can only say two things. The director is alive, and he might be killing someone. I hope someone will kill the director, Frederick Gogorte. In one of my other videos on this, I made a joke about Forenzik's middle name being Frederick as like a subversion instead of it being Forenzik F Forenzik for Forenzik. It was Forenzik F Forenzik for Forenzik Frederick Forenzik. But I think I might have been a bit of a wizard about that because I'm pretty sure that Frederick is Forenzik because he made Happy. So that would be wild if that comes true. But I guess Forenzik is also supposed to be Napoleon, so I have no idea what's going on. It cuts to Happy's rebuilt model. The director adds a knife, it cuts to black, and a scream is heard. I hope someone will kill Napoleon. And now we know who Napoleon/Forenzik is. He is the director who made this show, Frederick Gogort. Okay, somebody will have to go back and see if I actually predicted that correctly, because if I did, that's insane. That's just how in tune my brain is to apples. As the disc ended, Jim said, "Well, at least that's over, and we know who Forenzik is." He gave the disc to me and said, "Keep this. Even though I want this destroyed, keep it so that you can learn more about how these episodes were made." I said, "Okay," and left his house to tell you about the last episodes. Oh, and I remade the episode list. I guessed on where Hospital Doctor was. It's not Happy the Doctor. I'm going to spare you guys and not read this entire stupid episode list. I've read like 5 episode lists in here. It's just a waste of everybody's time. November 5th, 2011. You know, I don't think that revealing Forenzik's identity was a good idea. When I went to sleep on the 4th, I heard someone open the back door. Since it was probably Frederick or one of his friends, I grabbed a gun and went into the kitchen. In front of me was a man in Forenzik's clothes trying to burn down my house again with a lighter. However, unlike the normal Forenzik, he was quite fat, giving me the idea that he was John Wilkinson in disguise. Before he could turn on the lighter, I shot him in the leg. As he stumbled to the ground screaming in pain, he dropped the non-lit lighter on the ground. He tried to light it up again, but I stepped on his hand with my right foot. With his free hand, he tried to slash my Achilles heel with a knife, but I kicked the knife out of his hand with my left foot. I grabbed the knife and held it to his throat. The man proceeded to say, "Do it, you stupid foreigner, jeez. End my life, and you'll fear Frederick so much that you'll piss your pants at the thought of him, you sissy." The idea of somebody making a credible death threat at you, and then following that up with being like, "You'll also piss your pants," is kind of terrifying. Like, obviously I don't want to die, but I really don't want to piss my pants because that would be very embarrassing for me. I chuckled and said, "No, I'll just do this." As soon as I finished talking, I grabbed him and threw him headfirst into a metal radiator, knocking him out. After that, I called the police over and they revealed who tried to burn down my house. It was none other than John Wilkinson. I seriously wonder where Frederick Gogort is. He can't have possibly returned to the John Wilkinson summer camp. Why couldn't he have done that? The police left that crime scene unoccupied for like 20 years. He could easily be hiding out there. In fact, of all places for a serial killer to be hiding, abandoned summer camp is a pretty good option. November 6th, 2011. I got it. You know the address mentioned in the Can of Kill and possibly the Rose episodes? I think Frederick is hiding out where the address is. Now that I may have a possible lead, I'm planning on going to the address soon in the next day or so. I have to go now. I need to find some small weapons to bring just so that I could run from Frederick and protect myself if he chases after me. November 7th, 2011. Today I found out that Mr. Oscar Matthewson died today. Now normally, I would post on the blog the deaths of people if they worked on Happy Appy. This man didn't. He was a big fan of this blog and would ask me questions by my email. Now I know the loss of any life is tragic, but this man was a big fan of this blog. Maybe we're better off without him. I'm going to stop Frederick now. I'm horrified that Frederick is starting to kill fans of the blog. When he's done with my fans, he'll go for me next, and that isn't going to happen. Unfortunately for you, Garrison, the list of fans of this blog is probably quite short, so you can expect them to be coming after you any day now. November 9th, 2011. This post will be the last post to this blog. I know you guys are all getting very excited. This is just blatantly not true. I've already looked down to see how much further this goes. There are more posts after this, but this is the last really long post, so we can look forward to that. Even though many questions related to the show remain unanswered, this post will, or might, answer the ones related to Forenzik and Frederick. Are we seriously going to end this story without getting a single explanation as to how Happy Appy predicted not only the Obama presidency, but 9/11? That is the biggest disappointment of my life. First, I must talk about the trip to the address and what happened. Since I live in the suburbs of Aberdeen, Washington, and the address was near Alma, Colorado, I chose to take a car ride, and I took some things with me. We finally get confirmation here that the story takes place in Aberdeen, Washington, and not Scotland. If you guys didn't know, Aberdeen, Washington is like the single most depressing place I've been to in my entire life. It's so sad there. It used to be kind of like this industrial hub, but then like this crazy apple showed up one day and like ruined everything, and they just haven't recovered since. The first thing I took was a photo of Frederick Gogort, for when the Forenzik I find is actually him. I also took some weapons, like the knife and a pistol. After driving for almost 23 hours, I reached Alma, Colorado. The address, which I will not tell for people's safety, was over 5 miles out of Alma. I drove over to the address, and there it was. It was a fancy abandoned house, sort of like the one in Happy Rots in Hell. In fact, it was the same house, albeit with a spray-painted sign that said, "Happy Appy Fun House." I don't know why the house was rebuilt, though. The sheer amount of wasted time in the writing of this story is insane. Like, why does it have to say, "It sort of looked like the house in Happy Appy Rots in Hell. In fact, it was the same house as Happy Appy Rots in Hell"? Just say it once. To make sure Frederick didn't trap the front door, I peeked inside. Sure enough, there was a shotgun trap using a Winchester. I tried to sneak into the window, but Frederick locked the window, so I had no choice but to break the window. Holy word repetition. We got window 3 times in that one sentence. I climbed in, making sure not to cut myself on any glass. After that, I disarmed the Winchester trap and took the shotgun. The house was completely abandoned, and all the lights were off, save for the room where the window was. I looked for the light switch, but I was distracted by the fact that parts of the floor were wet. This meant one of two things: a water leakage had happened, or there was blood on the floor. I ran to the light switch and tried to turn the light on, however, it didn't work, so I headed for the circuit breaker. Sure enough, the circuit breaker only had one switch that was on. I turned on every switch, which made nearly every light in the house turn on. I went back to the staircase room and turned the light back on. As I guessed, there was some blood on the carpet and floor of the staircase room. I said, "Hey Forenzik, I know you're here. I turned the power on for every room in this house. Now you can't hide in the shadows." There was no response, which I knew was going to happen. I shouted, "Hey Frederick Gogort, I know you're Forenzik," and no response. Since there was no response, I explored the house a bit more. From the staircase room, the living room was to the right, while the kitchen was on the left. Since I was closer to the right than the left, I explored the living room first. It looked like it had been abandoned since the 1950s. That's a little strange since Happy Appy is definitely a 1990s cartoon. It has all the hallmarks of it being a 90s show, kind of the crappy claymation and the references to 9/11. The couch was old, brown, and had various tears in the cushions and seat. The TV was an old analog set and could only display static due to not having a converter box. And a frame on the wall had a picture of the weird guy from The Towers. I have literally no idea what that's referencing. What weird guy from The Towers? I know The Towers is an episode, but every guy in this story is a weird guy. On the front wall, there was a door that was left open. I went through it and I was in the laundry room. It looked like a regular laundry room at first, with washing machines and laundry baskets. However, some pieces of clothing in the laundry baskets were stained with blood, and over the laundry baskets was a framed photograph of Frederick as Napoleon hanging out with Happy Appy. Other than a door to the right side that leads outside, there was nowhere to go. I went out of the laundry room and went into the kitchen, and I wish I hadn't. The kitchen was just as run down as the living room, but it was probably worse. Again with these strange descriptions, it was just as run down as the living room. Actually, it was worse. Okay, so it wasn't just as run down as the living room. There were countertops, dishwashers, and an oven which had been rusted up. On them, however, was rotten meat infested with maggots. The stench was unbearable, so I quickly ran out of the kitchen and into the dining room, not noticing anything else other than the rotten meat. As I entered the dining room, I noticed that there was more maggot-infested rotten meat, so I ran to the next room over, which was the hallway, and looked at what the dining room had in it. There were various chairs, all of which were pulled out. Other than that, it looked like a rundown dining room with rotting meat. The hallway was nothing special, to be honest, and led to nowhere. At the end of the hallway, near the laundry room, it looked like someone piled up a bunch of wood to block off the entry to the hallway. After dashing through the dining room and kitchen, avoiding the smell and accidentally knocking a chair over, it was time to go upstairs. It was the only place I could go. As I was walking up, though, I had a feeling that someone was watching me. I turned around, but no one was there. I finally went up the stairs and tried to decide where to go. The left hallway or the right. Suddenly, I heard an all too familiar voice. "Hey Garrison, guess who?" I froze instantly. It was Frederick on the other side of the hallway. I said, "Are you going to run away from me this time?" And he said, "No, why would I do that? You know I'd never run away." And I responded with, "Listen, Frederick, how do you keep coming back?" I heard no response from Frederick for a while, and Frederick said, "Well, I have some people who work with me. They do my dirty work and try to kill you." And snapped back with, "But anyway, how'd you get here?" And I said, "There was an address listed in 2 episodes of season 2, and I went to wherever was there." And Frederick said, "Ah, it looks like I shouldn't have put that address in. It would have made the authorities' search more fun. For me, that is." Ah, the classic blunder of the serial killer broadcasting his address over children's TV. Happens to the best of us. I wondered if I could talk Frederick out of killing me. I said, "Listen, Frederick, why do you kill people?" And he cheerfully replied, "Well, it depends on who I killed. If it was a worker of Happy Appy, it was because I wanted Happy Appy to be more mature, but those damn employees and managers wouldn't let me. Now that they're all dead, I went after your fans, and I'll soon go to you." Hey, Frederick, if you want to make a more mature show, you should probably make it on a network that isn't Noggin. This is literally like if the creator of Bluey went crazy and started murdering people because he wanted the show to be rated R. I was about to say that John Tresty, Jim Forrester, and Tristan Drews were still alive, but I stopped. Probably because Frederick killed them already, except for Forrester. Don't ask me, I don't recognize any of those names except for Jim Forrester. Luckily, he's the one who's still alive, so he's probably the most important. I said, "Well, you don't have to kill people just because they ruined your show, or should I say magnum opus." Frederick took out his blood-stained scimitar knife and said, "Do not make fun of my show. I bet you don't have the balls to make another comment. Well, do it." Sighing, I said, "You should have been happy that your show aired and got decent ratings. Look at some of the shows now that only air for a few episodes before being canceled." Frederick put away the knife and said, You're right. I should have been happy about my show. I was relieved to have finally corrected Frederick. Garrison pulling out the classic Steven Universe, "You don't have to be evil anymore" monologue that always works. But I still love my lifestyle. I love killing people, evading cops, and most of all, stalking you. Oh, the joys. Okay, so I guess the Steven Universe monologue doesn't always work. I take that back. I knew that because Frederick was mentally insane, it would be hard to stop his ways. "Frederick, have you ever wanted to be successful?" Frederick said, "Yes, at covering up Happy Appy forever. I don't need your help because I'm doing just fine." I said, "No, I mean having a successful life." He shut up before replying with, "Well, yeah, who wouldn't want one?" I cringed before saying, "Well, because you've, to put it best, effed up your chances of having a successful life." Frederick was offended. He pulled the knife out again and said in a louder tone, "Why the hell would you say that?" Sighing again, I said, "Because 1, you killed a lot of people and the cops are looking for you. 2, if you're caught, you're going to jail forever or put on death row." Frederick finally knew that I was trying to tell him that because of his actions, he's never going to have a successful life. He broke free of his other personality. He said, "I can't believe it. I've messed up my life. I really can't. If it only wasn't for my mental illness." Frederick sat down on the stairs and put his head in his left hand. "Listen, Frederick, you don't have a choice. One day, you will go to jail and you will die there." Yeah, great pep talk, Garrison. That's exactly what he wanted to hear. Frederick said, "Go. Just go. I don't care about life anymore. I'd rather kill myself than be put to the electric chair or lethal injection." I said, "Listen, Frederick, you could probably start a new life by changing your identity and moving to South America, but you'll get arrested one day, so it's a checkmate now." Garrison, this guy tried to kill you a bunch of times and he killed a lot of your friends, so maybe don't give him ways that he could escape the law. Finally, he said, "Listen, before I kill myself, I want to show you my true face." I said, sure?" And Frederick took off his mask. I saw a skinny, pale face with various scars and hair that was ripped out at random spots. It was none other than Frederick. Yeah, I figured it would probably be him. You've been calling him Frederick, and he's been calling himself Frederick for like the last half hour. Frederick said, "Well, Garrison, it looks like it's time to go. I'm sorry for killing everyone related to Happy Appy. I'm now going to make the survivor's world a lot safer." He got his scimitar knife and jammed it into his throat, effectively killing himself. I felt depressed that I couldn't save Frederick from his mental illness. I checked his body for anything related to him. In his jacket, I found some interesting things. I found a couple of knives with dried blood on them, and a folded sheet of paper. Reading it, I found out that 9 people had worked for Frederick. After taking the paper and his gas mask, I left the house and went to my car to go back home, but leaving my shotgun, katana, and knife behind. You telling me this guy was carrying a sick katana on him the entire time? He didn't get to use it once? Well, this is it. I can't believe I have to stop posting on the blog, but I must stop posting on Happy Appy because I pretty much did everything related to the show. I sincerely hope you did. I can't imagine there's any more of it. Before you guys all say it, yes, I know there's like 3 other stories connected to this universe. I probably will not read them. This has been too much for me. I watched seasons 1 and 2, killed the show's insane director, and even went to the studios where it was filmed. I love that all 3 of those things are treated with equal weight. It's like, yeah, I watched every season, I even got to tour the studio, and I also killed the guy who made it. However, that does not mean that the search for answers is over. If you look hard enough, you can find the answers to the unexplained questions that relate to Happy Appy. Now, you might be wondering 2 things. What will I do, and what will I regret when I quit posting on Happy Appy? I imagine and I hope that you will be rotting in a joke of a correctional facility, because you need some help, man. No one should spend this much time obsessing over Happy Appy. Unless that person is me. Well, I will actually open another blog, which will be a short-lived one that talks about Fright House Screamers. Remember that? I actually don't think I remember anything about Fright House Screamers. Was that the one that had the kids that were all murdered by the guy at the camp, I think? Camp Blood? That sounds kind of correct to me. It's probably not. I might have to hand off the responsibility of covering the other stories in the Happy Appy Cinematic Universe to Evil Davis. He could probably handle it. Now, what will I regret when I quit posting on this blog? Absolutely nothing. I just want to never see this damn show again. That's the first thing you've said that's made any sense to me, brother. I'm sorry for leaving this blog, but I must part ways for now. See you soon. Gerasim Vasily Yakovlev. And that's it. That is the end of the story. P.S. I haven't explained something. How did the episodes get on Noggin? I don't care. You see, not all of them did. Only a select few aired before the show was canceled. How the others came about, I don't know. Maybe Frederick, after Happy Appy was canceled, made new episodes, which were more low budget and gorier. Okay, just a postscript, but now I may finally rest. P.P.S. Here's a question I'm going to answer. Where's the playground? I don't care. You see, they did film the playground scenes at a real playground in Colorado. The only scenes they filmed in the studio were any scenes other than in the playground. They had 2 vans for Happy. The first was a miniature, and the second was an actual van. After the scene in the Happy Appy movie, they bought a new van. After the part in Happy's Rising with the grenade, a new black one was bought. And that's all I could find out. Thank you, Garrison. Thank you. That'll have to do. Second post. I don't care. Here are the contents of the list I mentioned. There's 10 names, meaning that 4 have either been killed or arrested, 2 have been injured, and 4 have unknown fates. My followers and helpers. John Wilkinson's fate is unknown. Oh no. Blythe Underwood is arrested. Carrie Spooner was killed by Garrison when he blew off his head. Shane Rogerson is dead. Possible cause of death by structural collapse of studio? Willie Batts is injured. Had his arm chopped off. Dudley Franklin. Nathan Jakeman. He poses me when I tricked Garrison into thinking I'm a sane employee. He didn't come, however. Fox Garner. Milton Barrett was shot in the stomach while he was with Kenny, but escaped. Mervyn Payton. Well, guys, it's been a long road, but I'm happy to say we are finally at the end. November 10th, 2011. Oh, come on, you've got to be kidding me. The man who uploaded the 3 interviews closed his account on YouTube, but he has given me one last interview, which is with Ray Bolia, aka Danny. Interviewer. Ray Bolia? Ray. Keep it quick, please. I still have nightmares about what Frederick had done to me. How are you involved with Happy Appy? Well, it all started in a town called Alma, Colorado. I was living there peacefully until one day I was kidnapped by Frederick. How did this happen? It was 1999. Happy Appy had just been canceled and all the employees were fired. The director, who was charged with the crime, had moved to Alma, where he lived under a new identity. How did you get kidnapped? When I was 7, I was being babysat by my mother's friend. Late in the night, the man kidnapped me without leaving a trace. Where were you taken? I was taken to a house that had the shape of a barn. It had tinted windows, 3 floors, and a cellar. It was also dark blue. There, Frederick filmed more episodes of The Sick Show. How did you escape Frederick? After filming Happy Rots in Hell at his house, an anonymous person tipped the police, saying that the kidnapper of me, Miranda, Abigail, and some other kids was living in the dark blue house outside of town. So, the police broke into his house and saved the 4 of us. Frederick ran away though, which I find stupid. He needs to be found and killed for what he has done to me. Sorry, I get too carried away. Last question for now. What happened to Frederick? He became a creature known as Forenzik. Why is this even here? It's treated like him giving us the information that Frederick is actually Forenzik should be a reveal, but we've known about that for like 17 years at this point. July 15th, 2012. As soon as you've seen this post, you're now either asking this or you're about to comment with something like, where the hell have you been? Actually, my question is more like, why in the name of everything that is holy are you writing here again? I thought we were done. Well, the easiest answer I can say is that I basically decided to stop caring about Happy Appy. Way ahead of you there, buddy. There are 2 reasons why. The first is that some members of Frederick's group, to put it in simple terms, are still seeking revenge. The second is that there's nothing left to say about the show anymore. During the time I was gone, I went back to my family in Perm, Russia, and sometime later this month, my younger brother, Vladimir, is coming over to visit. Just a month ago, I got a job, meaning I have even less time to post. I'm sorry, are you a police detective? Wasn't that like the whole point of the beginning of this story? Did they fire you? They should have. Also, during the time that I was gone, only 1 Happy Appy employee died, which is amazing, considering that, at the very least, 5 to 7 employees died a year before I began research in 2011. Said employee was Joanne Broop, who you may remember as one of the producers during the Real Happy Appy movie. I don't care. She was actually a post-production editor for the show, but she only worked on Happy's Vacation and Nate Needs Help. The interesting thing is how she died. Joanne wasn't killed with a knife or anything Frederick's followers would normally use. She had her head smashed in with a sledgehammer. Thankfully, though, it looks like Frederick's followers have slowed down on killing Happy Appy employees, which is very good. Also, from now on, I'm going to call the people who work with Frederick the followers for consistency reasons. You should have called them the Happy Appleites. That name is just sitting on a platter for you, man. July 17th, 2012. Well, I guess this is the end of the blog. There isn't much I have to say now besides Happy Appy and Frederick O'Gort, and both of those things are dead. Unless something new happens, I'm not going to update this blog any longer. I will still keep it up so everyone can read what happened. And that is, no joke, the actual ending of Happy Appy. Which means I finally did it. I read all of Happy Appy, and I gave commentary throughout. That's certainly a feat that has never been accomplished here on YouTube. It's not like there was, a really big channel that just did this like a week ago or anything. When I started making these videos on Happy Appy, I did not realize it would become like such a meme on my channel, which is kind of fun to see that I'm like so weirdly interconnected with Happy Appy now. On the Creepcast episode where they read this, I haven't watched the whole episode because I cannot stomach this story another time, but there were a lot of comments that were referencing me, which was really, really cool to see. So thank you guys for spreading the word about my channel there. I did think it was kind of funny that people like felt legitimately bad and were like shaming each other for suggesting that the Creepcast guys read that story because it's so bad. I'm sure they knew it was going to be bad going in. I knew it was going to be bad going in, and they've probably made like 10 grand a piece reading it, so you don't have to feel that bad about it. If you're somebody who's watched all 4 episodes of my Happy Appy series, then 1, thank you so much, and 2, you should probably seek professional help. But on a more real note, as much as I talk about how boring and terrible this story is, I really did have a fun time reading all of this. I think it's, fun to read something that is so insanely long and just completely nonsensical and kind of, try to make jokes about it. I had a decent time covering this story. And for as bad as it is, I do have to respect that it was written essentially as a joke, and the guy wrote this long of a story. It's genuinely impressive that he committed to the bit that hard. That's literally something that I strive to do in my life, is commit to the bit that intensely. Remember again that if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. I'm just about to hit 150,000. I want to hit 200,000 by the end of the year, but at the time of recording this, I'm at like 149,000. So it'd be cool to finally hit that 150,000 mark. If you just know me from the Happy Appy stuff, I actually have a bunch of videos on a whole bunch of other creepypasta, both good and bad, and I cover horror books from time to time, so please go check out my other videos if you haven't yet. A massive thank you as always to my wonderful channel members for your guys' continued support. It really does mean the world to me. And just a reminder that all of the ad revenue from this video is going to go towards buying a massive apple-shaped coffin for Happy Appy because I put him in the ground. He's dead now. I'm alive and he's dead. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya. Take me up again. Let me see the stars. Is there life on Mars? 'Cause I've run out of luck here on Earth. I'm a wanderer. Another trip around the sun makes these memories flood, and I could wash it down with the atmosphere. You're cool blue and crystal clear. I'm an astronaut flying above, but can't fall in love. Floating alone, brave enough to see the cosmos, too scared to say hello. And I know one day I'll be gold